Amy, hi, welcome to the show.
Hi Emily, how's it going?
Very well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. I want to know, you do cycling, running, and yoga retreats
Yeah,
in the Pyrenees in France. Why do you do that? Talk me through why you decided to set this up.
because it's something that we truly, it's a real passion. Like when we decided that we were going to move out here and set up the business, I think in the beginning we were like, we don't want to make it too niche, like we don't want to sort of alienate anybody. And then I think as time went on, when you're so passionate about something, and obviously like people see that on our Instagram, it just it kind of goes in that direction that you draw those people in to share that passion with you. So that's kind of the way that it's gone over the last 5 or 6 years that we've been here. So
And what was the process of setting up a business in France? Like, is your French pretty good? Or it's sometimes it's difficult when you go to a foreign country to set it all up in the way that if you're from the UK, you kind of know how to do that, but it's all very different. So what was that process like?
yeah, it's such a learning process, and like it is difficult with French bureaucracy anyway. Obviously, the language was a bit of a challenge. We're okay at French, like we get by. James has got like this huge amount of vocabulary, whereas I'll just kind of string things together and get by. And between us, we kind of do it. But when we set up the business, we did actually have a little bit of help, like a handhold to do that for us, because it is a minefield. Like, because every situation is different for everyone. There's no real kind of like, this is what you need to do. So I think because of the situation and everything, yeah, we got some help with that, which was great.
And when you say kind of looking at the business, it's a bit of an unconventional type. It's not like you're starting a shop and you need to be open at certain
Yeah.
working hours and you need to have the stock in and that sort of more conventional business type. The retreats, it's very much your creation, all your creative energy. You can make it what it is. Like people don't just go because it's a retreat. They go because it's you running it and they want to buy into that and what you offer. What was your thoughts when you were designing the business? What you wanted it to be, its like unique points and how you put that creativity into it?
For us, it was all about creating something that was very different to your average bed and breakfast. We wanted to create a space where people could come in, enjoy what we'd created, feel completely at home. And there's no set like rules and regulations and you've got to do this, you've got to do that. It's all about just people having the best experience that they can when they stay with us. I think the number one priority for us is how people feel when they leave, because they're always going to remember that. No matter what you do, that feeling's going to stick with someone. So that is our priority, really, making people
Yeah.
feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the average kind of structure of a retreat that people go on if people want to come and stay with you? What can they expect?
We either do the yoga retreats or we have cycling experience weeks. So for the cycling experience weeks, people come and it's like a half board. So breakfast and dinner. They go often because they're out all day on the bike, they'll take lunch on the road. But everything is catered for really from A to B. So they'll turn up, maybe they have an airport transfer, maybe they've hired a bike, everything's here, it's ready, it's waiting. When they come to their room, we have ride nutrition, we have our own little Bezy cycling caps. And it's that kind of the whole journey of like all the routes are planned for people. It's all tailored to how they want their experience to be. So when they are here and then when they leave, they're kind of indulged in that and they're taking it away. And it's just this whole great energy and great vibe that we'll hopefully provide for people.
And I think when people don't have to think even about the routes that they're going, because if
Oh my
you know
God, yeah.
you've made it there, you've got your bike, you've got your food, and then you're like, where the heck do I go?
It's
What is
such, yeah, and it's such a game changer to think that someone's taken it out of your hands. You go away. Like, how often is the planning so stressful when you're going around holiday that you leave a holiday and you're like, I need another one because I've been here, there, and everywhere, and it's been a nightmare. And I think especially here, like when we take people out during the day, with the French lunch times, it's like if you don't get that 12 and 2 window, you're not going to eat. So it's the importance of making sure the logistics work for everyone. So.
I think that's something that culturally, especially in Europe, Spain's quite similar to France in that sense. As you say, if you go to a shop at lunchtime, it's probably going to be shut.
I know, like, and you're like, obviously it's going to be open because it's lunchtime. It's like, it's definitely not.
Yeah, and a Sunday as well. Sundays just aren't a good day if
Nightmare.
you want to buy
Yeah.
anything. And that's, I guess, like the local aspect as well of it makes such a difference. And that's really what people notice and they stay. And you said even the cycling caps, because people bring that home with them. They see it, they see
Yeah.
your company name. They think, oh, remember that time we were in the Pyrenees and we had such a lovely time and we had our routes all planned. And it's just that emotion that is quite an interesting thing to tap into when creating a business because it actually makes it so different. And it makes such a massive difference in the longevity of it as well and the customer loyalty and all of that.
Most definitely. And like the most amazing thing is when people go home and they're still tagging us on Instagram wearing their hats. It's like that is just amazing that is still something that people are like being part of, even though they're not here. It's really cool.
How do you find that Instagram kind of feeds into your business? Because obviously you have a significant platform on Instagram with your own profile, but how does that help with your business and how have you seen that impact? Did you start it from the start or was that going in parallel and then it just kind of joined together?
So I think it's kind of gone on this journey where it's amalgamated together. Like obviously there's still people that maybe don't make the connection between Bezy and myself or Bezy and James. But I also don't like on my own profile, I don't like to always be like Bezy, even though it's part of who I am, it's everything that we do. But so I think it's kind of done its own organic thing on the side. Like my Instagram was there first. And then we created Bezy, and it's kind of with that integration of the two, it's brought both of those kind of up and out there really. Like we get most of our bookings through Instagram, so I'm incredibly thankful for the platform that it's enabled us to do that.
The impact of that is just incredible to think that it didn't even exist however many years ago, and now
It's
it's such a
wild,
tool.
isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. So how do you view your Instagram profile, your personal one? What's the sort of content that you want to put out and what's the goal of it that you would, if someone follows you, what would you love for them to take away from it?
I think that for me, it's really important that I am the most authentic that I can be, and that people they'll come onto my profile and they'll see that like hopefully I'm there for the good vibes, the good energy. I want people to kind of see quite a fun, laid back side to me, I suppose. Like it's all about just being real. Like I talk quite a bit to camera now on my stories. And from that, like you get a lot more interaction where because I think often when you have a certain amount of followers, people seem to think you're not a real person. They can just kind of say anything, comment anything. And it's like, no, there's a person behind this. And I think the more that you can keep it authentic and show like who you are and talk about you and what you're doing, that's how I want to come across. It's really important to me to still be who Amy is.
I think it's quite interesting that you make the point of being authentic online because it's a little bit of a hot topic, isn't it? Of people growing their profiles and trying to maintain that authenticity. But how do you define being authentic? What does it even mean if we actually break it down?
I think it's just being you. It's not like maybe when you go on to record a story, it's not keeping recording it. Like I will literally just be like, talk to camera, switch it off. I used to be that person that would maybe be like, oh, I'm going to record something. Oh no, I didn't say that right. Or I looked really fine. Or, stupid things. And now I'm like, I'm so much more comfortable with who I am. So that is me. So I don't tend to overthink too much about perfection, and nobody's perfect. So it's, show all your flaws, show everything about you, because that's who you are at the end of the day. We're all only human.
But I think it takes quite a lot of confidence to do that. And I think that kind of point of being comfortable with who you are is such an important starting point. But it's quite a difficult path to get there as well, I guess, which is why
God,
a lot of people, they just want to put their best side out on Instagram. And it's such a hard balance, especially if you have like a significant following. And as you say, people forget that you are a real person. They just think, oh, I can just say this, I can say that. They're not going to read it or care.
It's not true. Like you see what people write, but it does take a certain confidence and strength, I suppose, just to let it wash over you completely. Like I've definitely learned that those comments come from that's that person's issue that they have. It's nothing to do with you. And it's just their way of expressing it. Maybe they've had a really bad day. And you just have to just be like, it's not me. It's okay. That's what they're going through. It's fine.
That's such an interesting point, that often it's just a reflection on what their own insecurities are. Is that
Yeah.
what they notice in other people? And if there might be something that they don't think is good enough, they will say it, even if it's completely not true. It's such a mental game, isn't it? You really have to say, no, this is what it is. But I think when you realize that and you really have that as like your core value, it really does make a difference.
It really does make a difference. And like I said, it's just learning to let things wash over you, go over your head, and just carry on with the things that make you feel good, rather than that one little comment that might get stuck in your head, which sometimes it does. But I just have to be like,
it's that mental clean out, isn't it? It's like, hold on,
it
why am
is.
I still holding on to that comment? That is not true. Let's let that go. And it's like a little spring clean in your mind, I think, is something
This is
that
it.
very important. And a spring clean on your Instagram feed as well. Just go through it. If they're not actually building you up, accounts that you follow, then
Oh
why
my
are you?
God, completely. And if anybody is like giving you negative energy, sometimes I will just think I'm going to remove it, or, because I'm there to create like a positivity and a good energy, which I hope, that's what I portray. So it's important to me to keep that vibe, for sure.
Yeah. And on your Instagram as well, it's very clear that cycling is your main love, your sporting love. And then you've created these retreats along the lines of cycling. Obviously, you do yoga and running as well. But how
Yeah.
have you maintained your love for cycling through creating it into kind of what you do as a job and that guiding aspect of like routes and things like that?
I think it's just a feeling that, for me, what cycling gives me, really, being able to just get out, be outside, explore where we live. Like, there's always, like, we've been here for nearly 6 years, and there's obviously like so many places that we haven't been. Like, even local, we'll go out and we'll be like, where does that road go? Let's check it out. Oh my God, it's like a really incredible road. And I think because we live in we're like maybe like 40 kilometers away from the big mountains. So it's, when you do go into the mountains, it just completely fills my soul with like the views and just the stillness. And with the Pyrenees, it's such let's say, like quite a rugged landscape. Like, there's no glitz and glamour with the Pyrenees. Like, when you're cycling, it's just really raw. It is what it is. You're out there, you're in nature. There's no cafes at the top of climbs. Like, it's just, I don't know, it just feels incredible to be out on your bike doing that. So I think that's really kept that passion going for me.
An authentic love of cycling, if we're going to go back to the A word, that is what kept it going, I guess. Of all the places in the world that you could set up a business like you have, there's lots of great cycling places, whether it's in the UK or Spain or even in France, if we just kept to the French country. Why did you pick the Pyrenees? Why were you like, this is the spot?
Because we came here in 2015. We hired a couple of bikes. We stayed somewhere quite local to where we are now. And it wasn't meant to be a cycling holiday. There's things where we're like, we'll just hire a couple of bikes. We'll just do a little bit exploring. We ended up being like every single day on the bike, and we just fell in love with the area. And when it came to deciding that we were going to come and live out here, we did have quite a broad area. Like, we were right down in the mountains, we were right across to the coast, and even in the Tarn region, but we ended up cancelling all the viewings up there because we just found that this area was naturally where we wanted to be. Because France is massive, and like you said, there's so many cycling destinations and places that are really like the places to go. But for us, it just felt really natural, I suppose. We were drawn to the area and we fell in love with it.
And what were you doing before then? What's your background?
We were 5 years in the Middle East, out in Abu Dhabi, before we came here. And I was working in events and marketing when we first got there. And then I switched, and I went from commuting to and from Dubai and having this quite sort of, everything out there is very last minute, especially with events. So it was like quite high stress. And then I went to work into a bike shop and doing the whole startup for them based in Abu Dhabi. So my commute was a lot shorter, and I set up women's rides and a women's race team. And it kind of really turned into something that started to grow my passion, because I only really started cycling out in Abu Dhabi, which when you say that to people, they're like, what, you can't ride out there? The riding is incredible. The infrastructure is amazing. There is so much that's been put into it that actually, like, I mean, yeah, of course, it's really hot. You're on the road very early in the morning and off the road early. But it's it's such an incredible community out there, and that definitely started to ignite my passion for the bike.
That's quite the story of, I love that you started cycling in Abu Dhabi and then you're like, okay, next up the Pyrenees. It's very unconventional, but I love it. I love how that's worked out. And that's what we love about, hearing other people's stories and other people's journeys and things like that. And actually the whole process of it and the background in events and marketing, that shines through, I would say, like on your Instagram and how you approach marketing your business. You can see that you have that professional background in it, which is probably what's made it so successful as well.
It's kind of bringing all of those things together, and like, I've got quite a creative personality, I suppose. Like I like to be out and doing stuff and thinking of all these really cool new ideas. And when it's your own business, you have the opportunity to do that. You can take it where you want. You can create like a bespoke experience for someone, and you can just kind of bring your energy into creating exactly what you want, which is the incredible thing about it, really.
And I think you're working with events, you have to be so tailored to the people that it's almost probably quite nice, because I'm presuming that you worked with a lot of corporations when you did that. And then when you've got the B&B and you've got people staying with you, it's so personal. But of course you still have those same needs. You have that front facing service, but the intimacy of, being actually seen how the people are on their holiday. Do you know, it's the highlight of people's year. They go there to relax, to be taken care of. Is it more rewarding, would you say?
Oh my God, incredibly so. Like just being part of that whole experience with people. I think, for us doing this business, it's just amazing that people come in and you hear their stories and their background, and you're riding with people every day. We eat dinner with people every night as well. And it's just, I don't know, just being a part of that whole thing, learning about people and being part of their experience is so important to us, making it as personal as possible. And at the end of the day, we are the Bezy. So people, like you said, like people find us maybe on Instagram, maybe they know a bit about us already, and then they come and spend time with us. And it's that whole package, and it's just awesome.
And how do you differentiate, if you're having dinner with your guests? Does it feel like you're working all the time? Or how do you kind of have that downtime for yourself, just you having dinner together and not feeling like you have to, have conversations with guests and that sort of thing?
I think it's all supernatural. Like we are who we are. Like none of it feels like work, which is like such a point to get to, is just amazing, because I know now that I work way more hours than what I ever have done in any other job that I've done. But you put that in, and like when you're riding with people, when you're sitting at dinner with people, that it definitely doesn't feel like work. It's just like hanging out with like friends that you've invited in and who want to spend time with you, and conversation and finding out about people is just such a natural part of what we do, and the whole thing. So none of it really feels like work, which is great.
That's amazing. And I guess it's probably like the cliche of, find a job that you love and things like that. But, it's taking a journey. Like you've done the whole events thing, and then you set up this business from scratch. You've done it from your whole hard work together. It's not just that you've arrived and suddenly you have this beautiful ready-made B&B and then you're going to do this, because you've had to sit down and imagine and do a lot of planning, a lot of work, a lot of strategy in that. So to be able to have that result is something I imagine that you're pretty proud of.
Yeah, most definitely. And like, we're still learning now. Like we're so many years, I say so many years, like we opened in the March of 2020, obviously like
was that COVID time? Yeah.
COVID. Yeah. And that was obviously like a little bit of a stressful time for us. Like we did quite a lot of work on the business ourselves, like with getting our rooms ready, because it wasn't how it is now back then. So you go through that journey and then you're like, right, great, we're ready to open. And then COVID hit and we were like, oh my God, what's happening? Like, what even is this? And so I think that like, especially a few years after COVID, we were kind of ticking. So the last 2 years have been real proper years for us. And just, yeah, I'm super proud of how it's gone and the direction that we've gone in, and how organically it's turned into what we want it to be. And just creating what we have done is just wonderful. It's great.
And I think often that you're so busy doing it, you probably don't look back and think, wow, like you've come such a far way. You know, starting it in COVID, if you had read that on a business plan, you'd be like, that's a nightmare.
Yeah,
No,
like
no.
red flag. That is not the time. Yeah.
Exactly, but now you've looked back, and sure, they're unconventional years, shall we say, a slight understatement. But yeah, you know, it's worked out as part of the journey, and yeah, it's amazing to look back and see how far you've come in something like that. So I'm sure that yeah, it's nice to kind of reflect and also look forward as you plan ahead and the developments. Have you got like some developments you've got in line, or what's your thoughts like moving forward? Are you constantly reevaluating things, or what are you
Yeah,
thinking?
I mean, we're always learning all the time. Like you think we're so many years into the business, and it's like we're still so new, and it's you're just learning, and you're changing, you're seeing what works, what doesn't. And I think it's just continuing to go in the direction that we're going. More groups coming through the door, more yoga retreats. Like we have 2 incredible yoga teachers that we work with, and we do, I think it's like 4 retreats a year, like 2 with each. And it's just keeping that passion and that spark going and pouring it all into the Bezy and making it bigger, making it better, and just keeping that energy going. That's the
Yeah,
important part.
yeah, absolutely. And if you could like describe your retreats in
Mhm.
like a few words of what you want people to feel, what would it be?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I'd want people to feel like they're recharged, maybe they're reconnecting with nature, getting outside, exploring, resetting. But it's such a hard one because it's just all about having like really good energy and that feeling that people take away with them when they leave here.
I think that recharging is it's quite a difficult thing because, as you said previously, you know, people go on holiday and then suddenly there's so much planning to get there. It's probably taking them the best part of a day to travel, and
Yeah.
if they're traveling with bikes, if you are ever traveling with a bike, you have a massive bike box that you've had to dismantle your bike to put in. You've got to make it
Yeah.
up, like build it up when you get there. You're also nervous whether it's actually going to come on the plane or not, and you know, there's just a lot of nervous energy. So by the time you get there, you're absolutely knackered. So to have someone, here's your meal, sit down here, we're going to talk to
Yeah.
you, welcome. You know, it is that balance, isn't it, of an active holiday. You want to have like people going out and exploring, but also recharging. And yeah, it's such a balance, I think.
It's that real breath of fresh air, I think. People come here and like obviously we know it's really quiet here and it's really dark and it's peaceful. And people come here and they're like, oh my God, like I slept really well, like it's so quiet. Like and I think just that for people being able to take a step back, because we don't get that time anywhere where we do get the opportunity to do that, where we can just have like maybe a really restful night's sleep or wake up and the birds are singing, there's not traffic outside your door. Like it's the whole thing of experiencing coming away from the hectic part of life and taking a bit of time for yourself.
Is it quite seasonal?
You know, we can ride all year round and we actually have guests most of the year round. We started having guests in February this year and we don't stop until October, and we've got the New Year's retreat. So the season's getting longer, which again, I suppose for us is part of the goal of what we want is for people to experience all year round, because even because we're not super high mountains, we can still be riding in shorts in like October, November time. And the weather here is just, well, the weather can be very up and down, as we know. June is a little bit at the moment. But generally, like those kind of end of season times can be the most incredible with weather and going out and it's autumnal and that's my favourite time.
I think autumn is actually such an underrated season. Like
Oh,
people don't
it
talk
really
about it
is.
enough. It's
Honestly, it
just
really is. Like when everything starts to change and like you can come back and be sat by the fire, but the day can still be quite mild and nice, but you've just got that real turning of the season and the smells in the air, and yeah, I love it. I love it.
I love how you can tell that you have a background in marketing, just how you're like marketing autumn. You're like, and the smell, and it looks so beautiful, and you're by the fire.
I like to set the scene. I like to really bring people into the feeling. Yeah.
I love that. I feel like I just got like a little behind the scenes of how your brain works.
You were there, weren't you? You were absolutely there. Yeah.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And now my next question for you is, it could get quite deep, we don't know, but what does success look like to you?
Success. Oh my goodness. So I think success is time, and it's having freedom and learning that success comes from a feeling within rather than an externality coming in, like not about what you have or how, like how hard you've maybe, I'm not saying don't work hard, but I think that it's just having time. Time is super important, like we don't have a lot of time. So it's the experiences that you have, the people that you see, the places that you go, the memories that you take from it. Drawing on that is real success for me. And also, I think in the past few years, it's learning to feel like really comfortable in your own skin. I spent like most of my growing up from being a teenager, maybe not really knowing who I was, not really feeling super comfortable with who I was. And you have all these things that tell you should be a certain way and act a certain way to maybe fit in. And I think there's been a real shift in that for me in the past couple of years. And that has been real success, finding comfort from within and knowing who you are. That's really important to me.
Yeah, and very difficult to do, because it does take time, I think, especially when you're, in your teenage years, you've absolutely no idea who you are. So it
Oh
is
my God,
that
no.
that process, and it takes a while. But I would also say like fulfillment probably like links into what you're saying. Like, are you
Yeah.
doing something that actually fulfills you? Does it fill you up? Are you with
Yeah.
people who you feel like you can connect with? And I imagine like if you had on paper, like, you were working in Abu Dhabi doing events and marketing, people would be like, wow, that's like the dream. And like, I'm sure it was amazing. But you say, even the way you describe that compared to describing what you're doing right now, you can just see that it really fulfills you. It's truly what you want to be doing, what you feel really good at, and how you connect with people in that, which is quite interesting, isn't it? How often it is that pure connection with people that is actually the most fulfilling thing.
And it's so important, like having community, building connection with people, being around people as well that really want to lift you up and you're lifting them up. And it just creates this great thing that makes you feel really good. Like community is very important, and the people you surround yourself with definitely
And I think it's
makes
quite
a difference.
difficult in the modern age, isn't it, to have that community, especially, like we were saying before the call, like I'm living in France right now, you're living in France, we're both from Britain, like you've lived in Abu Dhabi. It's difficult to build up a big community because people do move about a lot. And then
Yeah.
a lot of people's socialization is through a screen. So it's
Yeah.
ticks off that, that the need for interaction, but it doesn't give you that warm feeling of community that you're connecting with people. So it's really difficult, I'd say, more than ever in this day and age, to create that community.
It is hard. And for us, though, we've met most of our community through cycling, which is the complete joy of it, isn't it? Like the people that come through your door, like when we were in Abu Dhabi, our community was a community of cyclists, which was still like in such great contact with people. And that is definitely how we've built the community around us. And when you're like-minded, you enjoy the same things, and it just works.
Yeah. I think that the communities you can build through sport are like nothing else. But even any club, it's a cliche. Someone's like, I want to make friends. You can just imagine like the mother saying, well, you need to go and join a club or do
Yeah,
a hobby. And it just sounds so cliche, but it's true. You find people who are like you there
it's true.
because they do what you like to do. And it's that whole thing. It's basically that simple, isn't it?
It really is that simple, and when you're riding with people, you can be spending hours on a bike chatting with someone. So you're finding everything about people, and you're suffering together, you're going through this whole thing, and it really does bring this sort of bond and connection together. It's awesome.
There's something special about it when you're on like a several-hour ride with someone who you've never met before and you just talk
Yeah,
absolute nonsense, and you kind
don't
of
you?
figure out quite a lot about this person that they've probably not shared with many other people, and it's like such a weird
So
scenario.
sharp.
It's such a weird scenario of life that you just...
Honestly, it really is. It really is. And it's just magic, pure magic.
And I can imagine that when you've got guests staying, that's just like even more so like magnified that sort of dynamic, which is probably one of the joys of doing it.
Yeah.
When you look back at it.
It's cool. It's really cool.
As you look ahead, like with your Instagram account, but also with your business, what do you kind of see on the horizon for you for 2024 and beyond?
It's just continuing to do what we do, really, keeping that spark going inside and meeting more incredible people, riding more incredible places with people, and just sharing that with people that come through the door. That is how I see like the direction that we go, and yeah, keep on doing what we love.
One final question for you is, what is the retreat breakfast? Talk me through. What are the options and what's your favourite thing?
Oh my gosh. So for our yoga retreats, we do smoothies, and I do different ones each morning, which is nice because everyone's always like, what have we got today? Like they come up from meditation and their first class and they're like, oh, okay. So we have smoothies, we have croissant, fresh fruit, I homemade granola. What else do we have? Breads, yogurts, milks, like loads of just this really nice, fresh selection of stuff to people to feel really nourished and to start their day well.
Isn't homemade granola like such another underrated thing? I've started
Oh
making
my
my own
God,
granola.
yeah.
I'm going to go back. So good.
It is such a game changer. And I think for us here, it was just like, it's with every meal that we cook here, it all comes from scratch. So it's really important that I know what goes into people's food, and, you know, because that's how I want to eat. So I think it's great to be able to do that for other people as well. So yes, homemade granola, knowing that there's not all of this kind of stuff in it where you can't read the label, and it's so simple and it's just very, it's great. Good way
And you
to
have
start.
that sense of glory because you know that you have made your own granola and there's not much sugar in it compared to whatever else that's all processed, and it's just great. So would recommend.
That's it. Start making your own granola, folks. It's a game changer.
If there's one takeaway that you take from this, make your own granola.
That is it.
Oh, I love how these conversations go. You never know how they're going to end up. The passion. So if someone wants to follow you online, Amy, and check out your retreats, where should they go? Okay,
so our website is www.lebezy.com, and on Instagram you can find us at the Bezy Pyrenees. You can find me at Amy the Bezy Pyrenees. There's a few underscores in there, but I'm sure you'll put me into the search thing and I'll come up, hopefully. So yeah.
Amazing. I'll link them below as well. I'll link your accounts below so people can check them out and follow you and see what you're up to and all of the amazing places that you love to ride as well.
Super cool. Thank you so much, Emily.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed our conversation and hearing about what you do and your journey to get there. So thank you so much for your honesty and your time of coming onto the podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been amazing. Thank you.